Welcome to Small Biz Life, Episode 3.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my god, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Welcome back to Small Biz Life. This is episode number 3. My name is Kristin Ingram.
Oh, hold on. I'm just doing some Apple updates on my computer right now. Okay, there we go. Oh, I'm Jeff Ingram. So what's today's topic again?
Wait, what happened to the W?
I'm sorry. I'm all caught up in time here. Jeffrey W. Ingram. What is today's topic about?
Rescuing time.
Oh, yes. Hold on. There's another Apple update.
So we're going to get to the main topic in a bit, but we wanted to talk about what was in the news this week. So what'd you find?
I actually found an interesting article on Tech Republic, which is someone who, especially if you're focused more on the IT side, I would recommend getting into their newsletter. They had an article this week called 10 Ways to Repurpose Your IT Investments. Now, the thing to remember is, like most technology news, it is focused on much larger organizations than what we're talking about. However, there were some useful takeaways and some maybe alternate things that we can just kind of brainstorm here about. But a few neat ones that they had. And this is essentially what to do as the computers become obsolete in your office or the technology you've bought. One of my favorites is donate old equipment to a charity or a school. A lot of times too slow for you is not too slow for someone else. The only thing I would caution on here is if you have proprietary information, you will want to go to extremes to make sure the hard drive is completely annihilated. Don't just delete it. Don't just reinstall the operating system. There is actual equipment that will erase, and even that's not perfect, but it'll do a really good job if you want to donate it. Personally, I don't donate hard drives with that kind of data. I smash them, but it's a good alternative, especially if the computer doesn't have really sensitive information on it, I think.
And so I want to ask you a question. What if you do like a factory reset, like on a phone or a tablet?
The way memory works, and I'm not 100% positive on mobile devices, but I would assume it's very similar. All that happens when you delete something is the operating system stops allowing you to look there for something, but it still exists there. So in all of the deleted free space, there are old parts of programs, old deleted files, old emails maybe, which is good if you accidentally delete something and want to get it back, but it's bad if you get rid of it. And actually the bigger criminal really than computers really is if you have a copy machine. They actually have hard drives where they will cache in the documents that you were scanning. And there have been more than one scandal with companies overseas buying U.S. old copiers and peeling off documents from them. So
yeah, we're gonna have to see if we can find that piece that we saw.
That's something to talk about, probably on its own. But some other useful ideas here from their list of 10 would be use slower hard drives for cold storage. And that's a very useful one, and we've done that before in the past. Don't go out and buy a computer to do this with Google Drive or even just sharing a drive from someone's computer in the office. You can do it, but when you end up replacing a computer, you can dedicate that computer to just storing documents. And it's a good way to centralize important documents to your organization if you use a lot of like Office templates or anything that gets reused by multiple people or you want to be reused. It's easier to have it in a central repository. And that's a good use of older technology because you don't need a lot of processing power. You're just copying it over to another computer to use.
Yeah, I love that tip. I think that one's great.
Yeah. And a lot of these other ones, I don't really know how useful they are. If you do a lot of Office software. And if you create what they call office automations within it, you create macros for spreadsheets, you do that kind of work, you will want to centralize all of those kinds of macros so other people can take advantage of it. And then one other really important thing I think you can take away from is if you have different people and they're doing different kinds of work in the office, filter in your new computers through your power user, the person who uses the processor and the graphics the most. Take their old computer and pass it down to someone who's doing emails or working online, doing things that are less processor intensive, because they don't need the same kind of power that the other user needs. And a lot of times in offices, you have a power user, someone who does a lot more processing work with a computer, and then you have someone else who's doing administrative work. They're utilizing the computer, but not to the same degree. So you can also take a computer and have a plan where every 2 years maybe or 4 years you replace the power user's computer and their computer goes to the other person, and then you can figure out what to do with their old computer at that point. So you're not buying a couple of desktops every couple of years either. You can spread out the time frame in which you're buying new equipment for your office.
And, I think that brings up another really good point. When you're buying computers for your company, you don't always need the most high-end computer out there. Now, Jeff is looking at me like I'm nuts because he always needs the most high-end computer out there. But I think you need to look at what your requirements are and then buy appropriately.
We'll have to do an episode on requirements because it's something a lot of companies aren't good at doing all of the time. And the smaller the companies get, I don't think, in the frame we're talking about, most companies, if they're not a technology company, even think about requirements when they're purchasing anything. And really, for any capital purchase that you make for your company, but especially from an IT standpoint, knowing your requirements is key to getting the correct software.
Right. And I mean, I've seen people that they've bought $3,000 MacBook Airs to do blogging. And that, I mean, I blogged for a long time from a Chromebook. I had a $249 Chromebook that I was blogging from. Just think about like what your needs really are.
Entering text into a desktop application or a website is not what I would call a power user. It's important work, but you don't necessarily need a top-end computer. It's not to say you can't get yourself one. But, the thing is, especially the newer your business is, the less idea of what your future growth is. You should be very frugal with your money. That's the spot you can really do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes.
I'm a technology junkie, so
me too.
Anything technology just gets me going. So my article this week, and this is going to seem really unrelated to small business, but we're going to bring it back. Mine is called "The Federal Reserve Decision on Interest Rates Was a Close Call." This will get Jeffrey sparked up. Let's give you a little bit of background. So the Federal Reserve is actually, the full name is the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States. The Federal Reserve is in charge of setting interest rates for bank-to-bank lending. Mm-hmm. The Federal Reserve also is in charge of printing the US dollar. The Federal Reserve is in charge of the interest rates from bank to bank. It's called overnight lending. So essentially what happens is when you write a check or you process a bank transaction that's going to go from your bank to somebody else's bank or vice versa, the banks have to lend each other money until the funds can actually get there. Mm-hmm. That's called the Fed lending rate. And currently the Fed lending rate is 0. That's right. It's 0. So when you think about all of these really low interest rates we have right now on car loans and home loans and lines of credit and credit cards, that is because the Federal Reserve lending rate is so low. It's 0. All other interest rates are directly or indirectly tied to the Federal Reserve rate. As the Federal Reserve rate starts to increase, all other interest rates will increase as well. So why do we care about this as small businesses? Well, here's the thing. So the Federal Reserve just met this week and they said they're not going to raise interest rates. However, the vote was very close. Therefore, a lot of people think that they're going to start raising interest rates by the end of the year. Jeffrey disagrees with that. But here's the thing. We cannot have these super low rates forever. We can't. Because if we do, it will have horrible implications on our economy. I want you to start thinking about the effect that higher interest rates would have on your business and on your customers. So if you have lines of credit, anything that has a variable interest rate, credit cards, if you are looking at getting loans in the future, when the Federal Reserve rate goes up, the rest of the interest rates are going to go up along with it.
Including rates for such things as CDs or savings accounts, which most of you probably don't have anymore because the interest rates on those are so low.
Right. So that would be the benefit of the rates going up, is that all of us that are savers will benefit from the higher rates on savings. I also want you to think about the financial position that your customers are in. So if your customers are carrying a lot of debt and the interest rates start to go up, it will be harder for your customers to purchase from you. I want you to think about who your customer really is and the financial condition that they are in. And as the Federal Reserve comes out and talks about interest rates, think about the impact that it would have not only on your business, but on them.
Because too, if they have a lot of debt, what could in theory happen is they're going to start tying up their belts so they can afford to pay off their debt, which is now eating up more of their budget. If you are a service company and you have a deal set up where they're paying you monthly for services rendered, it might get cut. It depends on how vital you are to the running of their business or for whatever they're hiring your services for. So you really need to know about this. And two, the savings rate in this country is very low because of the low interest rates, people aren't incentivized to save money. So they end up taking anything they have invested and they put it into long-term retirement investments, and then anything that they want outside of that's a big purchase, they're using debt for, in general. So definitely something to keep in mind. And another good reason to be close to your customers so you could understand that as the interest rates do go up, which they need to go up, what impact will that have on your bottom line? What is the risk to you? Do you need to start looking for different kinds of customers that will potentially have money if the interest rates start going back up?
Well, I mean, the nice thing is if your primary customers are retirees, or you can shift your business to, serve retirees better, they're going to start getting better returns on their investments because typically their investments are interest bearing, right? So if that's your market, then you may see actually an uptick in business.
Oh, yeah.
Because as their interest rates go up, they will have more money in their pockets.
Or if you can come out with a product targeting the growing demographic of older people who do typically still save because they're afraid of the market because they might need the money, so they can't withstand it going down. But right now, they're getting very little return on any other investments they have because bond rates, every kind of investment that you get interest rate back in is very, very low.
Yeah, CDs, money markets, bonds.
Except for bonds in Greece, I believe.
Yeah, but those are really risky. Yeah.
Don't know if that's considered a conservative investment.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, I don't think it would be. So there's a couple things that we thought were interesting in the news. If you'd like to review either of those articles, you can go to smallbizlife.com, and we have got them linked in the show notes.
And you can also message us if you come across any articles you find interesting. We do record this a day before it comes out, so we actually are looking for articles that have recently come out in the news as well, too. So if it comes out and you see an interesting article, just shoot it over to Kristin or myself, attach it to us on Twitter, or reply to an email from us, use that email address, and you can get messages to us very easily.
Yeah, and you can get emails from us by signing up for our newsletter on the homepage of smallbizlife.com.
Wow. And we actually read those emails.
We do. I read all of them, and I respond to them. So, all right, so let's talking about email. We received an email this week from Carla. So let's jump into the mailbag.
Excellent.
Awesome. I love getting questions from people. I think it's awesome. It also helps me with what is on people's minds, right?
Yes.
The things that are impacting their businesses. So Carla says, I just formed an LLC. When do I file my taxes? Aside from not having a separate business account, you can tell that Carla is getting the newsletters from the website. What is the next biggest mistake startups make? Okay, so let's tackle the first question. So she just formed an LLC, and I think one of the big misconceptions that small business owners have is that an LLC is like this magical tax structure.
Yes, right.
And it's not.
It's not a tax structure at all, if I remember correctly. It's a non-entity.
Right. So an LLC is a legal designation. It is not a tax structure. The IRS considers an LLC a disregarded entity. And so what that means is that the IRS disregards the LLC formation and looks at the number of owners. By default, if you have a one owner, a single member LLC, then you are a sole proprietorship. Just like any other sole proprietorship, you would file a Schedule C on your 1040. If you have multiple members of your LLC, by default, you are a partnership.
And there's a lot more paper involved in the actual tax return side of it.
If you're a partnership, yes. You have to file a separate tax return, and then you get forms that tell you how much your income is from the partnership, and you have to put it on your 1040. So that gets a little bit, it's a little bit more costly. So then Carla's the second part of Carla's question is, when do I file my taxes? So you would use the same schedule that you used before you scheduled your LLC. So you would have to make, your tax return would be due April 15th. Okay, just like it was before. The LLC will be filed as part of your personal tax return, your 1040. If you are going to owe more than $1,000 when you do your tax return, you need to do something called estimated tax payments. You use a form called the 1040 ES. ES stands for estimate. And it's just this little coupon that it has your name, your address, your social security number, and how much you're mailing. Right. It's not a complicated form. Those forms are for 2016. Those will be due April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th of the following year. So it kind of sucks because your first estimate is due on the same day that your tax return is due. So you really don't want to get into a cycle of owing a large amount of money, because what happens is April 15th, you file your tax return, you owe a whole bunch of money, and then your first estimated tax payment is due on the same day. So that's one big mistake that I see a lot of startups make, is that they're not doing proper tax planning, right? So they fall into this trap where they're always behind with their taxes because they're not paying their estimates. Then they owe too much on April 15th. So they have to make, they're filing for installment agreements, which there's a limit to how many of those you can have going at one time. And then you're still not making your estimates because you're struggling to pay last year's taxes. Yeah. And you get to this vicious cycle that will end up putting you out of business.
Now, if you don't pay your estimates, will you get a penalty for that?
So what the IRS does is the IRS does a calculation that says, okay, if your profit, let's say your profit was $30,000 for the year, they'll say, okay, based on that, we're going to assume that you made 25% of that every quarter. So you should have paid in 25% of your taxes every quarter. And they will penalize you for underpayment based off of the date that the estimates were due.
Okay.
So, so $30,000 in profit means that $7,500 was in the first quarter, right? So whatever your taxes are on that $7,500 of profit, you would get penalized from April 15th to the end, to the day you file your tax return.
Okay.
Then the next $7,500 in profit that you would have had on June 15th, right? And so they don't just say, okay, well, you should have paid it all in by December and you didn't, so we're going to penalize you from that date. They go all the way back to the date that the first payment was due.
So estimates are important.
Estimates are important. And we were just talking about interest rates. The IRS interest rates are based off the Federal Reserve rates. So as the Federal Reserve rates start going up, the IRS interest rates are going to start going up too. Right now, they're very low, but they're going to start going up. And they actually are updated quarterly.
Oh, so they don't wait for the next year to update the, oh, no.
No, they update their interest rates quarterly. So you really don't want to get stuck in that trap.
Now, are the agreement programs that they do, or is that a variable or a fixed interest rate that you get if you make a deal with them to pay in installments?
It's variable.
Oh, excellent.
Of course. Yes. It's interesting that Carla sent this question this week because the next part of her question was, aside from not having a separate business account, which you need to have a separate business account, what is the next biggest mistake startups make? So I think one of them is the tax trap, where you're not making your estimates, right? And you can't get caught up. And I think that the second one is taking on too much debt. Because the problem is most people have lots of hope in their business, right? That, okay, I'm going to start this business and in 12 months, it is going to be a multi-million-dollar enterprise.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that that's wonderful to have so much optimism in your business, but be realistic with your money.
Yeah.
When people think, okay, I'm going to have a multi-million-dollar business, I'm going to be able to pay all of this off, they borrow to scale quickly. They have, and this is part of the reason why some people fall into the tax trap, is because they borrow a whole bunch of money. They're using their cash flow that's coming in from their sales in order to pay back that debt. And then they can't pay their taxes. Yeah. Or they can't pay themselves a salary because they have huge debt payments. You really have to be careful. I am a big fan of either, if you want to scale things up in your business, right? Like, especially like if you're just starting out, I am a huge fan of saving up some money so that you can get your business started.
Yeah. Part of that's just having a plan up front and going, I expect this much money going in to create this much revenue going out. And it might be over a year or 2 years that you expect to see that. But I mean, you really kind of need to know how much financial investment you need to make, especially if you're quitting everything else that you're doing and going full time into it.
Right. I'm a really big fan of people starting their businesses on the side and then growing them out. And I'm a really big fan of having a pile of money, being in a good financial situation before you try to ramp up your business. So even if your business is going right now and you've got this idea to, that, okay, if you just invest $20,000, you're going to be able to move to the next level. Yeah. I would save up that money and then go do it. And I know that the growth is slower. I know you're going to have to be a little bit more patient. You might have to be more creative. I mean, my business started, I didn't have a lot of money at that time. I started my business when I was diagnosed with cancer. And so money was really tight for us. Yes. And so I said, all right, I'm going to have to do a lot of networking, in order to grow my business. I didn't have money to place ads. We didn't have the money for that. We threw up a website. And so I had to do a lot of like face-to-face networking. Now, the cool thing was that at that time, and even now, a lot of CPAs don't do that. They place a lot of ads and they don't really go out and meet people. Yes. So, there I am, with my bald head because I was going through chemo and all my hair had fallen out. And I was going to networking events. Yeah. And that was really hard. But we didn't have the money to do advertising.
You got a cute little hat that you can wear, though.
I did, and people really liked the hat, so the hat helped. And, and my business grew very quickly and very strong. And even now, I don't advertise. All my business comes from referrals.
Yeah.
It took a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But, I grew to a really good place. Mm-hmm. And we didn't take on debt to start my business.
We actually paid off quite a bit of debt from that time to now, which that really helps too. The less debt you have in your personal lives, especially if you and your partner are on board with each other about either a business or businesses like Kristin and I are. We have a lot of cash flow now that we've paid off a lot of debt, and we're starting to make some money from some of the other things we're doing. She's a professor. I'm an IT professional. So we still have incomes. So we can utilize some of that income to start, feels like it's almost like a blending right into the topic of, automating parts of our life and our business so we can afford to have time for content development, which for us is the toughest thing to get right now because we have to do so much stuff.
Right. So, I think that when you're starting a business, get your personal house, financial house in order. Don't take on a lot of debt to grow your business. Start small, buy smart. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about some of those things in the next segment. But don't over leverage yourself.
And you even think too, like if you're going something that is expensive, after Dave Ramsey went bankrupt and he went back into real estate the second time, he didn't ever get any mortgages. He would buy a house for cash flow purposes. And he said the first 5 took a really long time for, in his mind. And I don't know how long that was, but in his mind, it took a really long time. But then once he got to about 5 properties, he had so much cash flow coming in that the properties after that came much more quickly.
Right. And that's what you'll see with your business is that, you may have to bootstrap things. You might have to find alternative technologies that are less expensive. But once the cash flow comes in, you're not taking that cash flow and paying off debt, right? You can use that to pay yourself. Yeah. You can use that to, buy more equipment or buy more technology. But once you factor in interest, and especially most small businesses are using credit cards, which means that their interest rate is anywhere between 10% and 30%.
Yeah.
And so when you think about, okay, I'm going to buy something for my business and I'm going to pay 15% interest on it. Yeah. That interest is eating up your cash flow.
Yes.
And I've seen it get to the point where the debt has just been unbearable and the person can't even make the minimum payments. And then you start to panic.
Because then it's not only your business at risk, it's everything that belongs to you at risk.
Right. And that's one thing that's important since Carla asked about LLCs. Typically, as an LLC, when you take out any sort of debt, you are personally guaranteeing that debt. As a new small business startup, the likelihood that you are going to get a credit card without personally guaranteeing it is very small. So even if the LLC goes under, you are still going to be liable for that debt. And that's really important to understand. So if you would not take out a credit card to do this, to do something, then your business should not either.
Yes.
Because you're going to be the one paying the bill in case something doesn't work.
Yeah, especially in the mom and pop business. Business credit card is your credit card.
Right. Exactly. This week, our main topic, we're going to talk about rescuing your time. And this is something that Jeff and I have been working on a lot.
Yes.
And it's been wonderful. It really.
Yes. And I would say it's, especially in our circumstance where, we can't put our full-time emphasis on the businesses that we love. It gets very hard because you end up getting caught up in the minutia of the part-time stuff that you love. And you feel guilty working on the part of it that will grow it. For me, writing, or doing creative content or the other kind of content that, you create, that whole business stuff.
The first thing that you need to get in your mind when you start talking about rescuing time, you have 2 main goals in your business. to provide the product or service in which you're selling to your customers and selling that product or service. Everything else falls further down the list. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is, I think we get so caught up in the social media and the email and the mailing lists, and you have two main focuses: provide the product or service and being the best salesperson you can be. So the thing that we've been trying to do is we're trying to find ways that we can free up time to do those two main things.
Yes. Right?
So for us, it's content creation.
Yes.
Right? Because of the websites that we have, you're a fantasy author. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I found that the more we were, getting into the running of the business, the less content creation we were doing. And without content, we don't have anything to drive people to our sites.
Yes. As a fantasy author, you have to create your content. It's not like I can repackage someone. Well, I probably could until I get sued to death. Mm-hmm. It's like, without the content, if that's what you're delivering online to people, there's no business. So we're doing this work creating pages, which I'm now upset I've created a page. But, the websites, it's very easy to get so caught up in all of that stuff and when this has to be perfect and blah, blah, blah. And I'll get to writing the book later. And that is really a bad plan for an author.
Well, it's like we said in the last episode, it was so hard to outsource building a website.
Yes.
Because we know how to do that. Mm. And I'm so glad we did, because it got the project done faster and we had the money to do it. Yes. So, so I want you to think about, where your focus is on your business. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's tip number one. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. There is an app that's called Rescue Time, mm-hmm. which you can put on all of your devices, and it will tell you where you're spending your time online.
Which right now it's recording a lot of time for me on news sites. I'm going to feel guilty later if I look at that number.
And it also works for anything that you do on your computer. Mm-hmm. So if you're spending a lot of time in Word or in Scrivener because you're writing, it'll tell you how long you spent on business software like Excel and Word and PowerPoint. It'll tell you how much time you spend on social media. It'll tell you how much time you spend in your email. Mm. So that's been really interesting just to see where my time is going. And it's amazing how much time you spend on social media. Mm. It really is. That's one thing that, that I've been working on, is trying to stay off social media. Once you figure out where your time is actually going, then you can create a plan for where you want your time to go. Mm. It's funny because we have paid off a tremendous amount of debt using a budget. Mm. But until recently, I've never thought about actually budgeting my time.
Yes.
So I created something called a master schedule. And essentially, it's funny because people look at it and they're like, oh my God, that's so overwhelming.
And it's not as bad as people think they are, but you just see all of the time booked up. It's like, budgeting all of your money every month to either be spent or invested somehow. You're telling your money what to do. You do the same thing with your time.
Right. So what I do is I actually do mine in my Google Calendar, and I literally have all of my time blocked off during the day. Now, when you look at my calendar, and I'll put a screenshot up of it in the show notes this week, I have my personal time is blocked off. Mm-hmm. My errand time is blocked off.
Getting ready for work, getting ready for bed,
right.
blocked off.
Right. And so, but what that does, for me, it does two things, right? It helps keep me on track for the things that are important in my business, which for me is content creation and building relationships with people to get people to engage with that content. Mm-hmm. The other thing it does for me is that I don't feel bad taking personal time anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's scheduled into my day. So I know that, hey, if I've gone through and I've powered through my content creation blocks, I checked my email at certain times during the day, during those blocks. when I get to the evening or the weekend and it's my personal time, I don't feel bad about that personal time anymore because I've scheduled it in there. Which, I mean, before it was, I just went.
Yes.
And I didn't really have a lot of downtime. And now I'm okay with that.
But the problem is, too, it would end up leading you to burn out. And then, so you would go from, busy 24/7 for 3 weeks in a row to the next week, like, I'm not doing nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But that's a different topic as well.
So the master schedule has been great for keeping me accountable for what I need to do, helping me hit my goals, and then allowing me to give myself the grace to have downtime.
And I think one of the things, too, is it also gives you the flexibility to go, what is the most vital thing that I can do for my business? And you schedule that at the part of the day that your mind is at its strongest. So, a lot of people will say get up early and then, like 9 a.m. But that might not be you. You might not be the 9 a.m. guy. You might be the 11 o'clock person. Whatever that time is for you, and it's probably not 2 to 3 in the afternoon.
No.
That should probably be take a nap or read a book time. But take your strongest time and do the most important thing to make your business successful at that point.
And that is either delivering products or services or sales.
Yes.
Right? Those need to be the most important things. It's not scheduling social media. It's not checking email. It's not paying your bills. Okay. It has to be either generating sales or creating content.
The best time to schedule social media is at the end of the day when you're watching TV.
Yes. That's what, a lot of times when I'm like, my brain is kind of fried. I can't develop content right now. That's when I schedule social media.
And I know too, it's like I have a couple different projects going on. So I have my fantasy stuff going on one side and then small biz life stuff going on with Kristin. So I have blocks of information. And then in Nosby, I have actions that I need to get done for those. Some are really, really boring, things I don't want to do. Others are where I'd prefer to be all the time. But if I don't get some of those boring things done that need to be done, then I'll feel guilty doing the stuff I like to do. So, I'll kind of break my schedule down into smaller blocks of time when I'm doing the really boring stuff and say I'll work for 25 minutes. Then I'll take a 5-minute break to stretch out and sort of splash water on my face, so to say. And then, I'll do a little bit of that. Then I can spend an hour or so. And Kristin will verify this. It's like now I have an hour blocked off almost every day of the week for writing. And I would have more than that. But right now with my full-time job, that's most of my writing time. So.
And I think that that's worked out really well because usually I find that when you get home from work, you typically have a decent amount of energy. And that's probably
about till supper time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, that first hour for you, it's funny because and I think one thing that helped us is we're both aware of what our master schedules look like. So
even though we don't share them on our phones at the same time, you kind of have to go back and forth if you want to see what the other person's doing. That's the bad side effect.
But I know that your writing time is from 4:30 to 5:30. And a lot of times that's when I'm coming home. Anyway, so, I'm like, oh, I want to talk to Jeff. I'm excited. I'm like, no, this is his writing time. I won't call until after 5:30. So I try to make an effort, preserve that time for you.
I appreciate that because she knows for me personally, once I get distracted, I have trouble going back, and that's the reason why typically it's like I don't have a browser open unless I'm doing research for something specific to what I'm working on. I try and just write, but if for whatever reason, and it could be anything, I get derailed very easily because I'm a bit distracted at times. And I have trouble once I break my routine getting back into it because I'm very routine driven, because that allows me to do what I feel is appropriate. When I can't, it throws me off.
Yeah. No, and I'm kind of the same way, is that if I can get laser focused, then I can just go and punch work out. But if I start to get distracted, I'm done.
Yeah.
You lose that momentum,
Yes.
I think. So master schedule has been really key. You want to talk about email.
Yes. And the biggest thing I want to talk about email is the greatest waste of time and one of the most important things in the world. And
time suck.
Yeah, I mean, the first mistake you make at the beginning of every business day is you open up your email and you go to town and I'm going to go through these 50 emails today and get through them. Have some realistic expectations. One, if you're an Android user or a Gmail user, there's an app called Inbox, and I love it a lot. You can do great things with it. So let's say you get to a period of time where you're going to actually work on your email. You go in and you can just sort of swipe stuff to archive it. And here's my thing is, if you don't want to read it right now, archive it. Unimportant. And this is also, too, if you can't afford a virtual assistant to point out the important emails to you. The other things, use folders to put them in so they don't show up in your inbox. So, like, if you're looking for more information on, an important topic to you, you have a folder called, let's say, web news. And all of the stuff that you like to look at for your business goes into there. And then when you have a time to go through that stuff to do research, you use that folder. Otherwise, you ignore it. And the other great thing I like about it, too, is a lot of times we have personal and business emails flowing through there. There's a snooze feature, which is really easy to use on a phone, an inbox. So like if I get a coupon for a restaurant, I can snooze it until I get to the location where we go to use that coupon, and it will pop open like a brand new email at that point, which is an awesome feature. Or I can say, I need to take care of this, but I'm out and about right now. I had 2 minutes, so I was in my email. Let me snooze that until I get back to my office or home or wherever you do the work side of your business. So there's some great ways to use that to make your life easier and really unsubscribe to anything that's not useful. If it's fun, you like it, get rid of it.
I use a service called unroll.me. And what that does, first of all, it's great for helping you unsubscribe from things.
Yes.
Because it will literally filter through, it'll filter through everybody that sends you emails. And with one click, you can unsubscribe from emails, even if you don't have one currently in your inbox.
Yes.
So that's pretty awesome. The second thing that it will do is that you can add senders to your unroll list.
Yes.
And so what this does is it creates a folder in your email that's called Unroll Me. It will automatically move all of those emails to that folder. And I get an email once a day at about 8 a.m. that basically gives me the thumbnail for each one of those emails. So typically, I can go through probably 100 emails in about probably a minute, because I just kind of scroll through them and go, okay, is there anything important that I really need to see right now?
Yes.
Right? And if the answer is no, then, and I still have them all. So, like a lot of, like my Staples emails go through there. My Starbucks emails go through there. So if I ever need to say, hey, I'm going into Starbucks, do I have any deals? I can just search and I still have those emails.
And personally, I use the same service, and I use it for all my personal stuff. Because then later on, like if I'm actually just, I want to browse for something, I'll use that instead of going to the web sometimes. And you get, like you said, the roll-ups, or you can go look into the folder for anything interesting and click into it. And then the main inbox and the folders out there are all related directly to the business.
Yep. No, so we will link to that service in the show notes, but it's called unroll.me, and it's free. Yes. It's free. So, and
you also find out how scummy some of the people who you're signing up for emails are, as you unsubscribe to Jim Bob at blank.com, and then all of a sudden Jim Bob's mom at blank.com starts emailing you, and sometimes it g's rather obnoxious.
Yeah, I think I hate to say this, but I think nonprofits are the worst for that. Yes. Because there's some nonprofits that they send so much email, it's insane. And I keep unsubscribing, and it's like they pop up under another name, And
now it's jimbob@gmail.com. You're like, come on, leave me alone, Jim Bob.
Yeah.
And to any Jim Bob listening out there, I'm not talking about you. I apologize.
So I guess while we're talking about nonprofits, one thing that we've done to save some time is we have a budget for charitable giving every month. And rather than, what we used to do is we say, okay, so what charities you want to give to this month? What do what are we going to do? Is there anything that you want to give to? And it was incredibly time consuming because you start doing research and stuff and you try to figure out, okay, which things that we got in the mail do we want to, do we want to donate to?
Sometimes it's great because you're like, oh, we can give to this thing that I never would have thought of before in the months that you have time when it's coming about. But the problem is oftentimes, oh, wait, we haven't given anything for the last 3 months now. Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one thing that we did is that we automated all of our giving. So we picked 4 charities that we really like, and we set up an automatic monthly donation. Yeah. And anytime we want to give to a charity again, we look for that feature.
Yes.
Because you don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. It just happens. I don't have to write checks. It's mm-hmm. awesome. We automate all of our bill paying. Everything is on automatic payment, and it saves so much time because you don't have to worry about it, and your bills are never late, and it doesn't stress you out.
And pretty much, I think in a month now, the routine for you is to take the excess money and push it into other accounts to begin our new budget cycle.
Right.
Really every 28 days. But.
Right. That's one thing that saved us a ton of time. So if you hate sitting down and paying bills, that's a way that you can rescue your time. Mm-hmm. Put everything on automatic payment.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful thing. Let's talk about outsourcing.
There's no way that sort of let us into it.
So, right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're outsourcing your bill paying mm-hmm. to your bank. So most people, when they think of outsourcing, they think of outsourcing to other countries. They think of outsourcing work processes, right? But it mm-hmm. doesn't necessarily have to be that. Yeah. When you're dealing with your business, there are a number of different ways that you can rescue some of your time. One thing that we did recently is we subscribed to a service called Meet Edgar.
Love it.
Oh my God, I love this service. It's awesome. If you are following Small Biz Life on Twitter, which is at SBL Podcast, mm-hmm. Or you are following my personal account, or you're following the Kristin L. Ingram CPA Facebook page, you'll notice that there has been an uptick in social media in the last week. And that is because of Meet Edgar. Yes. You want to tell them a little bit about how Meet Edgar works?
Yeah. Meet Edgar is essentially a way to build up a library of content that you want to share out. Libraries, really, because I have certain libraries set up for the fantasy stuff I do because it's not really relevant to Small Biz Life. So through my personal Twitter account, through my personal accounts and stuff I have set up for garduel.com, there is a bunch of information that's set up and scheduled to go out through there. And when I spend time adding content to the library, I add it into specific categories that will go either to Small Biz Life or it will go to Garduel, and it will actually put it into those libraries. And you could tell I want to share this only once, or I want to make this a reoccurring item. So my wife's been putting together a lot of very cool memes, which I'm going to start tagging her on during the day to remind her to follow her own memes. But just with tips that are really cool, simple. But the thing is, all she has to do is create a new one, upload it into this library, and it will mix it in with the other content that's already there. But the idea is you can create these libraries of stuff that you can reuse, or you can have other categories that are for content that you want to share out just one time. And it's a great way to come up with a schedule. And when you're making up your schedule, you'll say which categories are done at what times. And that way you're doing a good mix of sharing out your content, sharing out inspirational content, sharing out other people's content to help drive your social media plan.
So, I mean, here's a little behind the scenes, right? And I'll tell you what I was doing last week. So I have 3 libraries of content that I use. One library is just content from the Small Biz Life website. So I have an RSS feed set up. So every time a new post, so like today's episode 3, when that post goes live, it will go into my Meet Edgar feed along with all the other posts from Small Biz Life, and it will share one of those out a day. I have a second category that is for inspiration for Small Biz Life. And it's things like reminding people to drink, reminding people to eat, reminding people to clear out your voicemail. Because if your voicemail's full, customers can't leave you messages. Not good for sales. And just like things like that, that when kind of inspiration hits me, I'll throw a meme together and I'll pop it in there. So that's set up that, one of those goes out a day. Now, the cool thing with those 2 libraries and the difference between Meet Edgar and other services is typically with other services, once that piece of content goes out, it is out of your library. It is out of the schedule. Yeah,
you can go back and grab it and say, make this part of it again, but you have to manually do that.
Right. And the thing that Meet Edgar does is it just recycles that content until you tell it to stop. So if you're somebody who has a blog that has hundreds of evergreen posts, which means that they're timeless, right? You could share them over and over again. And, it's not like, you're not talking about the 2013 Christmas sales, right? You can pull in all of those blog posts, pick the ones that you want to go into the library, and Edgar will share them over and over and over again. It's funny because I got an email from them this week and they said, based off of what you've scheduled so far, you've saved yourself 3 hours a month.
And we've been using it for a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, and we've been using it for a couple of weeks. So, Edgar it's pricier than most of the other services. For, I think, 10 social media accounts, it's $49 a month. But if we've saved ourselves 3 hours of time already, that is $16 an hour.
Yeah, and that's lower than our billable rates.
Yes, that is lower than our billable rates.
And I want to say, too, for the Twitter people out there, if you're using a retweeting strategy to help gain the attention of people, which I do. If you're working with authors, it's a very good strategy because they love to see their names in lights. Retweets make me and any other author out there very, very happy. And so I do that a lot. I do use the free buffer for that because Meet Edgar, I haven't figured out how to do that efficiently, but sharing to buffer I can do really easily. So now all I do with buffers, I have a free buffer account set up and it's linked only to my Twitter account. And I can take any tweets that I think are relevant or cool or witty, and I can feed them up there. And I just have time slots in the application when they'll be shared out. But I do that on top of my other social media.
And one of the cool things with Edgar, there is a category called Use Once, and they have a plugin for the Chrome browser. So if I'm on the web and I see a cool article or I see a cool blog post, I can click on the octopus in my browser, right? There's a little icon of an octopus. You click on that. Edgar will ask you what category you want it to go in, and basically, do you want to add anything to it, any hashtags or whatever? You click OK. And then I have the Use Once category scheduled every day. I think it goes out at like 12:02 or something across all my social media channels. So I don't even have to schedule it. I just say add it to the library. And it'll push it out.
And another quick tip, if you're paying for one of these services and you run out of social media accounts that you can fit in there without increasing and you don't have the budget to increase, there are applications, and we'll talk about those at some other point, like If This Then That, or and other applications like that, which will allow you to take, you create a recipe. So if something happens in one spot, you can take that and share it out to other spots as well, too. So you can really kind of expand it out in an automated way that saves you time to interact with people, which is what you should be doing for your business and social media, not scheduling stuff.
Right, exactly. So that's why, that's why I have like my meme scheduled, the blog post scheduled.
Like I don't schedule questioning answers for like when I see a question under a hashtag that I look up. I answer the question as a human. And then if I see a response, I'll keep the conversation going.
Right. So that's the thing is like, you know, if you can get your social media time to where you're directly interacting with people, that is going to be more effective for you, right? Try to automate the rest of it. So that's one, you know, Meet Edgar, I was kind of skeptical when we first got it, whether or not it was going to be, you know, whether or not it was going to save us a lot of time.
I think either one of us are done setting up all of it that we wanted to do. But the thing is, even if you don't have a lot of time early on, if you can get just one thing in there, you know, like
your blog posts or your podcast episodes.
My podcast episodes. You know, it took me 15 minutes because I had to go back and look up how to do it. It wasn't hard. It just, you don't know until you've done it. And got those up there. And then later on, you can go back, put in some more stuff, like go grab the feeds of things you share out a lot and just put those into a library that you can share out as well, too. Yep.
I mean, I went from sharing nothing on social media or sharing very inconsistently to now I have 3 posts a day going out on all my social media channels. And I'm seeing people are liking, people are sharing, they're, you know, favoriting on Twitter. So that for me has made a really huge impact already.
And don't forget too the power of, and if your avatar is someone who is on the internet trying to make a splash, you know, interacting with them is the best way to create engagement.
Absolutely. Yep. I completely agree. Another way that you can outsource is you can look at personal items. And this is something that we've spent a lot of time on recently. I hurt my back a couple months ago, so I have limited energy during the day. And since school has restarted, trying to get through teaching classes, helping my clients, and then, you know, building the podcast and my other projects has been really tough. Yeah. And so grocery shopping kind of fell out of rotation. It was one of those things that we just weren't really doing.
And it wasn't in our master schedules, so we were doomed.
Well, the thing is, it was on my errands day, but my errands day was full of doctor's appointments and physical therapy. And so grocery shopping just didn't really make it on the list. And so we were spending a lot of money on like having food delivered or eating out, and we weren't eating really well. So, you know, one day I thought, hey, why don't we get groceries delivered? And there's a great service called Peapod, which Peapod works with a number of different grocery store chains across the country. And essentially how it works is you create a list. You can either create the list over time and save it, or you can just do it in one sitting. And that's what I do. It's kind of like the same process as like making your grocery list as if you were going to go grocery shopping, except, you know, you do it on the computer. And then when you're done, you hit schedule and they bring you groceries. God, this is like the best service ever. Yeah. It takes me about 15 minutes to put together my grocery list. And then it would probably take me you know, between driving to the store, getting the groceries, putting them in the car, and driving home, it would probably take, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, right? Now the groceries are delivered to my door. Yes. You know, they'll actually offer to bring them in for you if you want and put them down in your kitchen.
Do we get them to put them in the refrigerator and cabinets?
Yeah, they don't put them away. Unfortunately, no. This service, if you order $100 worth of groceries, it's $6.95. Yeah. Not $695, $6.95 for them to go grocery shopping for you. Like, this is a no-brainer. Yes. The cool thing, like, they accept coupons. They have the same coupon policy as the store they work with. So, for example, like our Peapod will actually double coupons up to 99 cents. They usually it's a 2-hour delivery window, but there are certain times, like the first time we had it delivered, we went for a longer delivery window to give them more flexibility, and we saved $3 on the delivery. So it was $3.95 for delivery. Yeah. Seriously, no brainer. The other thing that I thought was awesome is that because the food is coming from the warehouse, the food is so much fresher.
That's the thing that blew my mind was we eat a lot of bell peppers, as we called them in Indiana. And don't laugh at me, honey. And
we're not currently in Indiana.
And we got some of the biggest peppers I saw out here. Vibrant green, like just bigger, fresher than what we could see at the stores. The store chain that we know that they work with here, we don't live too far from one of them in the town we live in. And so we were just kind of laughing that I don't think we've ever either one seen a pepper that looked that good in the store. So that might actually be a side benefit of ordering through Peapod is you're getting better produce.
Right. And you can order anything in the store. They deliver frozen food. We've had ice cream delivered.
Yes, my wife's joke that she's joked about and dreamed about for years, she's had done now, where she's had ice cream delivered to her at the house.
It's awesome.
Which, as a husband, I appreciate.
We're so impressed with the service. And if you go to the show notes, there's actually a coupon code that's valid through the end of September that you can save $15 off your first order.
Nice.
I can't tell you how much this one service, because we're eating better, right? We're saving money. We're saving time. I mean, like this hits all of my win categories, right?
Which frees up more money to do other stuff. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Now, if we could just get Google and Costco to work together on a delivery service, we'd be all set.
They're working on it. I saw an article today. Can you imagine? Okay, because the people that are Costco members, right? You know what I'm talking about. Can you imagine if you could get Costco delivered? Like the heavens have opened up and the light is shining through and it's glorious.
Yes, because one, Costco does have a lot of good food that we like to get from Costco. The stuff that we like to get in bundles, condiments like bacon and... It's a condiment.
I know it's a condiment. Mustard.
Yeah. Stuff that you need all the time and a lot of. You can get delivered to your house, which would be awesome. So get that service up and running.
Some other things that we've done to save time. We're currently having our cat food delivered. Petco has a service where if you go on to reoccurring delivery, you can save 15% off your order. And if your order is more than $49, then shipping is free.
Yeah.
What we do, we have 4 cats. And they go through food pretty quickly and we feed them expensive food. So what I do is I order 2 bags of food at once, which gets me over the $49 threshold. I save 15% and it comes every 4 weeks because they basically go through a bag like every 2 weeks. Yeah. Again, I don't have to run to the store to get it. I have a bad back, which means I don't have to lift it. UPS, like I ordered it and it was here the next day.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I'm saving money, right? Because I'm always getting a coupon. I can use my PALS rewards against it. It's just whatever I can do so that I do not have to go to the store. Like that's one of the things that I'm working on right now.
Yes.
This year we hired somebody to fertilize our lawn. Next year, I think we're going to hire somebody to mow the lawn. We're looking at having somebody come in to clean the house. Just because our time is so limited and we really want to be able to devote it to, those 2 things, content development, right? And sales.
Yep.
So we're really like hyper focused on those 2 items, and we're lucky that, we have... we've paid off a lot of debt. We have money in savings. So, and we have good cash flow. So we've just been laser focused on finding ways to outsource things that we can so that we can focus on, the content development piece and the sales piece. We outsourced the website for this project. We've outsourced some copywriting and some editing.
Which you should do if you aren't good at doing those things. It would probably be in your benefit to pay someone who knows what they're doing to do it.
Yes. So I am working with Ronnie Harden, who is an editor and a copywriter. and has a long history, and she teaches literature and English for homeschool groups. And she's brilliant, and she does this so much better than I can. And so I will link to her website in the show notes as well if you're looking for somebody, because her turnaround time is awesome. We've outsourced the copy editing and the copywriting, grocery shopping, lawn fertilization. We're looking at cleaning and lawn mowing.
And then we'll start going into business stuff, basic functions, probably get a VA for email and dealing with that kind of stuff. So we only start dealing with the important stuff. But yeah, and the thing is, take the things that are either that you can afford to do or things that would give you the biggest bang for the buck, and really start working at the thing that you're good at doing.
Right. One thing that you should do is, if you haven't already done so, you need to have a desired hourly rate. Okay. How much you want to get paid per hour for the work that you're doing. Once you have that, then you need to start looking at what can I outsource that would cost me less than that rate so that I can devote my time to generating that revenue.
Yes. And if you are a business owner who makes $200 an hour doing consulting, and you are hyper focused on making sure your lawn is mowed, and you could be putting that money towards earning income, you're probably not doing the most you can to make money for your business.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. You can always make more money, but you cannot create more time. Okay. We do not have the technology yet to create more time. And so
I have a book with that. Wait, that's not count. Fiction. Sorry.
That's fiction, and fiction writers lie.
And fiction writers lie. Woohoo, it's been used on 2 podcasts now.
So until we have the technology to create more time, what you have is finite, but you can always go out and make more money.
And the thing is too, even if you take that time and make it personal, it's time with your family, your kids, to me, that should be worth to you at least as much as your hourly rate.
Exactly.
So even if you don't end up using it to generate revenue, that is what your time is worth at a minimum.
Right. And that's the thing is, if you're not spending time with your family or your friends because you're trying to get social media posts out, or you're trying to write newsletters, or bless someone else with an income, right? And free up your time to do what you are really good at.
And be thankful and appreciate them. Even don't be one of those people who thinks that you are subcontracting out work that is beneath you. I've seen this in people working corporately, and just people I've met in general who think people who take care of minor services for them, are beneath them. And that's absolutely not true. These people are as vital as anyone else in our society, and we should appreciate them just as much.
Yeah, I was telling my students last week that the most important employees that we have at the university are the maintenance crew.
Yeah.
Because they clean up all of our messes. They keep the classrooms clean. They keep the hallways clean. College students in general are pretty messy.
Yeah. Professors probably aren't much better.
We're not much better, no. And we would not be able to do our jobs if it weren't for them cleaning up after us. I have great respect for our maintenance team because they do a fantastic job.
Yes.
Let other people give you the gift of their strengths so that you can use your strength, and bless, help bless them with making a living. I'm just a huge, I'm a huge fan of engaging people to help me who are fantastic at what they do so that I can be fantastic at what I do. So this week's app of the week is Peapod. Because it just blows my mind. This is a no-brainer for you guys. Yeah. Go check out smallbizlife.com for this week's show notes.
And there's a coupon for Peapod.
Right, and there's a coupon for Peapod in the show notes. One last thing this week. I want to thank all of you who who downloaded and shared and subscribed in our first week. We hit the new and noteworthy list on our first day. And we could not have done that without you guys. Especially
since I wasn't home for over 9 hours that day. So
well, and it was funny because I was actually I had class that day, and so when I had my first break after my first class, I looked at my phone and I had 100 notifications on Facebook, and that was from listeners like you sharing it and tagging me in the post, or tagging the community in the post, or it was very humbling, and it was overwhelming, the support that we got from our community. So I want to thank you all so much. If you're looking for ways that you can help the show, a rate and review is super helpful to any show. Because the iTunes voodoo that ranks the podcast really likes ratings and reviews. So if you have not rated or reviewed the show yet, that would be awesome. Share it out on social media. If you go to smallbizlife.com, there are social media share buttons for every single episode. You can follow us on Twitter at SBL Podcast. You can join our Facebook community. If you go to smallbizlife.com, you can click on the Facebook icon, and we have a closed Facebook group. So if you're looking to engage with other small business owners, but you don't want the entire world to see it, if you kind of want a nice private place, only the members of the group can see what you're posting. So it's a safe place to talk about business and share experiences and ask questions. So we'd love to have you join us there. Yeah, so rate and review, share with your friends, come join the Facebook community, follow us on Twitter, and you can find all that information in the show notes at smallbizlife.com. I want to thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for helping us grow the podcast and grow the community, and we will see you again next week. Thank you for listening to Small Biz Life. If you enjoyed the show, please take a few minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher. Please visit smallbizlife.com to view today's show notes, take this week's poll, join the Facebook community, follow us on Twitter, or submit a question for the mailbag. Support the show by checking the resources page or by going to smallbizlife.com/Amazon whenever you shop.
This was Small Biz Life. This was Small Biz Life.